it's Kevin Syracuse from Sports Hour. We're live here at the Bills game.
You get that?
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our third episode of the semester of Sports Hour. I am Kevin Syracuse alongside Josh Schmidt, and we will be talking about the NHL as we normally do. Now, normally we like to take 2 games from Friday, 2 from Saturday, 2 from Sunday, then 2 from tonight to talk about, but there is a lot to talk about with the Sabres, Josh. So we're just going to do 1 game from each night this weekend to get things going here so we can save enough time to let our emotions out on the Sabres.
We don't have enough time.
So anyways, let's get going here. So the first game we want to talk about was from Friday, and this was the Rangers and the Bruins, and the Rangers took this one 6-2.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a big game for the Rangers and the Bruins here. I mean, the Bruins, as of that game, had lost 4 out of their last 5. Rangers get to, win in front of their home crowd for the first time in a long time. It's awesome to see that they're finally getting fans back in the stadium. We're going to talk about the Sabres in a little bit. They're going to be having fans as well. But yeah, no, big storyline here is Boston has lost 4 of their last 5 games. They did get the win on Saturday after losing 6-2 on Friday. But another big storyline is Alexis Lafreniere has finally gotten going on the points, it seems, and he's up to 4 points in the season. So he's seen a bit of improvement. He's finally better than the Chicago Blackhawks goaltender, who also had the same amount of points as him for a big stretch there.
So moving forward to Saturday, there are a lot of great games to choose from, but we went with the Blues and the Sharks because this was a 13-goal game, and one of the goalies tried starting not 1, not 2, but 3 fights.
Yeah, this is quite the game to watch if you're a fan of either of these teams. I mean, like Kevin said, there's 13 goals. St. Louis comes out 7-6 on top there. But yeah, so Jordan Binnington, the goalie for the St. Louis Blues, was ejected after being pulled for attempting to start not 1, but not 2, but 3 fights. So he skates over to his bench to go down to the locker room, and he skates over to William Karlsson, I believe, and he just, blockers and gloves right to the face. And I was like, okay, that's pretty crazy. And then he skates over to another guy and does the same thing. And then he skates over to the Sharks goaltender, Devin Dubnyk, and does the same thing. And the next day, Dubnyk had a bit to say about that, and he said, it's kind of crazy that he's trying to start fights like that. I mean, he's probably 165 pounds, so Dubnyk didn't like that at all. And but Binnington was definitely upset. He had let in 3 goals in a very short succession, one of them being 17 seconds into the game. And another big deal there that night for the Sharks, at least, was they couldn't capitalize on the power play. They were 2 for 6 on the night. And, if you pop in 1 or 2 more there, you might come out on top. But the Blues hold on to 3rd, and the Sharks drop to last in the West with that game.
Yeah, the Blues are in 3rd place right now with 24 points, but only 1 point separates them and Vegas and Minnesota, as Vegas is in 1st with 25 points, Minnesota 24 points, and then St. Louis 24. St. Louis does have 3 games, Vegas has 4 games in hand. They've only played 17 games, the Wild 18, and then St. Louis 21.
Yeah, it was from earlier COVID problems that the teams had, and it's going to sort itself out eventually.
Now the next game we have on our list here from yesterday, Chicago and Detroit. Another 7-goal game from one team, and that was the Blackhawks, who saw Patrick Kane score his 400th career goal.
Yeah, it was a great night for Patty Kane. I mean, local Buffalo guy, you got to root for him here, and he's a great American, one of the greatest American players ever. He's rivaling Mike Modano at this point. But yeah, no, Detroit, I mean, come on, they got to figure it out. I mean, they're kind of in the same boat as the Sabres, but worse. They just can't catch a break at all. I mean, they got some good prospects coming up the pipe, but it's not looking good for them. 4-point night for Alex DeBrincat. He's got 25 points in 19 games, so that's a good sign there after you lose a big guy like Jonathan Toews. And then, you see Patrick Kane, he's 32 years old, and he has 34 points in 23 games, and that's just unreal. I mean, he's playing like a 24 or 25-year-old right now, and it's great to see. But Chicago is in third now. They've kind of, gotten things back on track after a bit of a shaky start, and Detroit is still awful in last.
Yeah, kind of a similar situation from the last division that we just talked about. Chicago is in third place with 28 points, but they have played 4 more games than Tampa, who's in first, I assume for COVID reasons.
Right. Yeah, that was one of the more harder hit divisions, and because of the whole situation in Dallas, they weren't able to play games because of weather and all that stuff.
And then finally, this game is from tonight. We'll see if we can get a live update here at Toronto and Edmonton. That was actually hasn't even gotten underway yet. I think puck drop is just about to get going here. But Toronto did win the last matchup 4-0, and that was on Saturday night.
Yeah, so I mean, this is the battle of the two giants in the North Division. I mean, you see Montreal still up there, but these two are clearly the top dogs. Toronto, I mean, they're looking really strong. Matthews, Tavares, Marner, everyone's firing on all cylinders for me. Matthews is putting up possibly a Hart and a Selke season. I mean, it's insane. But McDavid is going to give him a run for his money, I think, because he's got almost 2 points per game. He has 40 points in 24 games, which is absolutely insane.
That's crazy.
But the Leafs do have the second best power play in the league, and the Oilers are 20th on the penalty kill. So I think you could see a lot of goals coming from the Leafs power play tonight if the Oilers get a little sloppy. So it's going to be an interesting game, but I think the Leafs are going to pull this one out.
Well, we did what we said we were going to do. The first half of the segment, an exact 6 minutes, and now we have 6 minutes to try to get all of our emotions out on the Sabres. So, Josh, I'll let you start with this one. Where are you at with this team?
As you can see, I'm still wearing the jersey. I'm never going to stop supporting this team. It's just not going to happen. I mean, I might stop supporting the owners. I've definitely stopped supporting the owners, and I've definitely stopped supporting the coach and GM at this point. I mean, the GM's a little suspect still, but he hasn't addressed the media. He hasn't tried to do anything to improve the team. He missed out on a free agent goalie today. He was on waivers. We could have picked him up for nothing. And it's just, what do? You know what you do? You fire the coach. That's all you can do at this point. He has done nothing for this team. He is driving these guys into the ground. He's playing a $9 million a year player on the fourth line, or he's scratching him for a $6 million Kyle Okposo. And I have all the respect for Kyle Okposo for what he's gone through, but he can't be on this team anymore. He just can't. It's not feasible. You fire him, you hire Gerard Gallant, who made Vegas what they were when they came into the league. If you can't get him, you hire Bruce Boudreau. He made Minnesota pretty good when they had nothing. And if you can't get him, you hire Claude Julien. He won a cup with the Bruins in 2013, and he made Montreal pretty good in the beginning stretch here. And if you can't hire any of them, hire me. Why not? Give it a shot. I got a good resume. But that's all I got. Eichel isn't getting traded, and that's the other thing. He's not. It's just there's no point. Why would you trade a top 5 center in the league? What would you trade him for? And same with Rasmus Dahlin. There's a couple things coming out about him getting traded. You're not going to trade either of those guys. It's just you'd trade Taylor Hall and Jeff Skinner before you'd trade Eichel and Dahlin. It just doesn't make sense to me. And honestly, all the stuff coming out about that is just national trade rumor insiders, quote unquote, that think they know what they're talking about, and it's just not going to happen.
Now, I agree with just about everything you said, but I want to look at the other side. So I think Kruger is to blame very much so here, as are the Pagulas and maybe Kevin Adams. Like you said, he's still new into this gig, so we'll cut him a little bit of slack. But definitely Kruger and the Pagulas need to take some responsibility here. But at the same time, when is it the players' fault? Because this is going on 10 years now, and it's just the same thing every year. New coach, new GM, new coach, new GM, new coach, GM. And it's like we have the same players, and no coach and no GM can figure out the right combination. So when is a time where you just say, we got to get a whole new group of players in? Because like I was saying last week with Trevor, it's almost like guys just come to Buffalo, and they're like, oh, well, losing is a way of life here, whatever. Like, I'm getting my paycheck, whatever. Like, it's just another losing season in Buffalo. I didn't expect anything else. So when is it time to just do what the Bills did and just completely start fresh, strip down the organization, and bring in a whole new slate of guys that actually want to be here and have a whole new mentality. You know, just get a whole new culture in here, because it's the same thing every year. And like, as much as I want to hire those coaches that you mentioned, I don't know, like, can they really resurrect this team? Like, they just seem like they're dead. You know, every year it's like we've hit rock bottom. Well, this year we've hit rock bottom. No, this year we've hit rock bottom. And it's like the Sabres keep finding ways to pushing that rock further in the ground. So it's like, how many more coaches and GMs can we go through? And when is it time to say, okay, we need to blow this thing up and completely start fresh?
Well, and you got to look at it this way too. You look at teams like with Bilesma and Nolan and those guys. You didn't have Taylor Hall. You didn't have Jeff Skinner. You didn't have a developed Jack Eichel or Sam Reinhart or Victor Olofsson. It's just, you didn't have those specific players. And I think if you had those players with a guy like Ted Nolan or a guy like Bilesma, I think you might have had more success. And if you can get Lindy Ruff in this mix, which you can't, you would have immense success. I mean, it's insane how good he would be with this team, in my opinion.
Should have never fired him or gotten rid of Ryan Miller.
And if you look at it in a broader sense, and I'm not trying to rag on the Pagulas, but they're not doing anything to actively help this team. They're not hiring a president of hockey ops. They had one, Pat LaFontaine. He was not only one of the greatest players in Sabres history, his jersey is retired in the rafters. His jersey number is retired in the rafters, and that's an immense respect on his name in the city of Buffalo. And they treated him horribly. They hired him and they said, it's your thing, go and run with it. And he wanted to hire this GM, and they said, no, we're going to hire Tim Murray. And he said, all right, I'm leaving. And that was it. And he's never come back to Buffalo since. Not even for the 50th anniversary stuff, which that right there can show you how the Pagulas can just wear down even the greatest people in this city. And it's just got, I think it's just got to be them. I really don't like saying that because I'm scared they're going to sell it to somebody who's going to move the team, but that's the only thing that's been constant throughout these 10 years.
Well, one last thing that I want to squeeze in here before we hit the break. So take this for as you will, if you want to blame the players, the coach, the GM, the owners. Jack Eichel, 2 goals, $10 million. Taylor Hall, 1 goal, $8 million. Jeff Skinner, 0 goals, $9 million. Kyle Okposo, 0 goals, $6 million. That's 3 goals for over $30 million. And these are like star players with any other team. Or like before, back in the day, like these used to be star players. And for them to have a combined 3 goals and over $30 million, something's got to give.
For sure.
So with that, we will hit the break. Sabres play tomorrow against the Rangers, see if they can right the ship. Josh, thanks for coming on. We'll have to keep talking about this more throughout this semester here. Hopefully we'll be talking some better things about the Sabres. But Dee will be on in a couple minutes to talk about the MLB.
Better days are coming.
The best at anything, you've got to be physically fit. Train hard. You've got to be sharp mentally and keep yourself in top shape. You've got to learn all there is to know about your sport and be a team player. And most of all, you must have the burning desire to be the best. Incidentally, that's exactly what it takes to be a Marine. Sports and the Marine Corps are natural partners because the demands are the same. Teamwork, pride, discipline, and physical fitness. If you're interested in developing to your full athletic potential, the Marine Corps Sports Program offers an opportunity to go as far as your athletic talent and desire will take you, even as far as the Olympic Games. If you seek the challenge of going out for the world's finest team, maybe you could be one of us, the few, the proud, the Marines.
You know, every mother wants their new baby to be healthy. I know that's how I felt about mine. But the mothers of these babies were not so lucky. These babies were born with the AIDS virus. Right now, there's no cure, but you can help prevent the spread of AIDS. If you're sexually active, please use a condom because it'll help prevent AIDS. Do it for yourself. Do it for your partner. Do it for the babies.
It would be nice if latex condoms were automatic. But since they're not, using them should be. Simply because a latex condom used consistently and correctly will prevent the spread of HIV.
Some people say the press goes too far sometimes.
Sorry, I don't think it's appropriate to comment at this time.
But how far is too far?
What about the allegations?
Had they stopped here, you may never have known about Watergate.
No comment. Please, no comment.
Or here, you may never have been fully informed about the environmental
Policy and
crisis.
perfectly appropriate behavior.
Within policy? Would you say that secret activities are within policy?
Look, no comment.
Did you get authorization?
I said I cannot comment at this time.
Or had they stopped here, you may never have known if it concerned an issue that concerned you.
I'd like you to check the record.
Who monitored this activity, sir?
Who approved the funding? The committee approved all.
Now you say the committee was involved, sir?
No.
To protect your right to be informed,
I have nothing more to say.
how far should the press go? To learn more about the free press, contact the First Amendment Center.
Joins us now to talk some more baseball. And this week, we were trying to figure out what we were going to talk about. There's not a lot more news going on in the MLB right now. Spring training has started. It's a beautiful thing to see as teams are back in action. But we're trying to figure out what to talk about for these next few weeks leading up to the season, and we figured it would be best to take a look at all the divisions. So we're going to take a look at 2 divisions each week. So tonight we're going to talk about the AL East and the NL East, and then next week we'll do the Centrals, and then the following week we'll do the 2 Western divisions, and then that'll lead us into the regular season. So these are based on the odds to win the division from MLB.com. So we're going to have the order that you'll be seeing these will be the Yankees because they have an 81% chance to win the division, followed by the Rays, 11%, the Blue Jays, 7%, the Red Sox, 1%, and the Orioles, 0%.
I am actually really upset that the Orioles have a 0% chance of winning the division because I used to be like a diehard Orioles fan when Manny Machado was like a rookie and he was doing great, and then they traded him to the Padres, and I personally think they've gone downhill since they lost Manny Machado. I thought teams shouldn't really rely on one player, but he was such a good player that I think he held that team up high.
So let's get into it. So first for the Yankees, the starting lineup, the projected lineup at least, will be DJ LeMahieu, batting first, playing second, Aaron Judge, Aaron Hicks, Giancarlo Stanton, Luke Voit, Gleyber Torres, Gary Sanchez, Clint Frazier, and Gio Urshela. So not a lot of change from the team last year, but they do have Clint Frazier as a projected starter instead of Brett Gardner.
Yeah, to be honest, I was very shocked to see that because it was a very big move for them to do. Before they re-signed Brett Gardner, they were like, yeah, Clint Frazier's going to play left field. Clint Frazier's going to play left field. And then they re-signed Brett Gardner, and then everyone was like, well, where's Clint Frazier going to go now? And, I think he started in left field yesterday over Brett Gardner, so I think this starting lineup was 100% accurate. Starting with Garrett Cole, who started yesterday as well.
And then the rotation.
No, he started today. I apologize. That was wrong.
And then the rotation will be Garrett Cole, Corey Kluber, Jameson Taillon, Jordan Montgomery, and Davy Garcia. And don't forget Luis Severino will be coming back probably June or July, and then Domingo Germán, whatever goes on with him. And
I can't keep up with that. That thing is so like Domingo Germán saying his side and then everyone else saying their own side, and I can't keep up with it. I kind of forget that he's a starter also, so like if he does end up coming back, I hope it's in a positive way and he doesn't let what happened last season reflect this season.
And then once again, Aroldis Chapman will be closing for the Yankees again this year. So moving on now, Tampa Bay, it'll be Austin Meadows, Brandon Lau, Randy Arozarena, who really came on at the end of last year.
Oh my gosh, he really shined for the Tampa Bay Rays, definitely.
G-Man Choi, Joey Wendell, Willie Adames, Kevin Kiermaier, Mike Zunino, and Manuel Margot. And then the rotation will be Tyler Glasnow, Ryan Yarbrough, Michael Wacha, Rich Hill, and then Chris Archer, who they were able to re-sign again.
It's crazy to think and crazy to see that Blake Snell's name is not in the starting rotation for Tampa Bay Rays. He no longer plays for the Tampa Bay Rays, and I think that is really going to hurt them this season.
So, yeah, I think the biggest change was in the rotation. You know, not too many changes in the lineup, but they lost a few pitchers like Blake Snell and Charlie Morton.
Yep.
But like I said, they're able to bring back Chris Archer. They got Rich Hill, so we'll see what they can do.
And it's crazy to think that, you know, the Rays won the American League last year, and between the Yankees and them for first place and second place in the division, there is a 70% chance difference of winning the division. So it shoots down from 81% to 11%.
Moving on now to a team that I think is going to be really, I think they're going to have a really nice season this year, and that's Toronto, because they signed George Springer and Marcus Semien, who I think are going to be two really great additions for this team, and they bolstered up their rotation too. So it's going to be Kevin Biggio, George Springer, Bo Bichette, Teoscar Hernandez, Vlad Jr., Marcus Semien, Lourdes Gurriel Jr., Rowdy Tellez, and Danny Jansen. And then the rotation looks like Hyun-Jin Ryu, Nate Pearson, Robbie Ray, Steven Matz, and Tanner Roark, with Kirby Yates closing it out.
The Buffalo Blue Jays. They're probably going to end up playing in Buffalo this year instead of the Toronto Blue Jays.
So moving on now to the Red Sox. Kike Hernandez, who they signed from the Dodgers, will be leading off according to MLB. Alex Verdugo, JD Martinez, Xander Bogaerts, Rafael Devers, Christian Vasquez, Frankie Cordero, who they just acquired in the Andrew Benintendi trade, Bobby Dalbec, and Hunter Renfroe, with the rotation Eduardo Rodriguez, Nathan Eovaldi, Garrett Richards, Martin Perez, and Nick Pivetta, with Matt Barnes closing it out. So this Red Sox team, I mean, they still have some solid players, but I don't think they're really that threatening this year.
No, they lost Andrew Benintendi, and I think that's really going to hurt them. He has been such a huge impact for the Red Sox over the past few years, and losing him will definitely kill them in the long run.
And closing it out now, so this team, we said they have a 0% chance of winning the AL East. They also have a 0.0% chance of making the playoffs. So
yeah, that's
no chance at all for the Orioles to do anything this year. But let's see what their starting lineup is. So it'll be Cedric Mullins, Ryan Mountcastle, Anthony Santander, Trey Mancini, Rio Ruiz, Pedro Severino, DJ Stewart, Freddie Galvis, and Yolmar Sanchez. So, I mean, that's not like a terrible lineup.
No.
I don't think they're going to be terrible, but
I don't recognize half those names anymore.
yeah, I mean,
Like
I remember them from last year.
I only really recognize Trey Mancini.
And their rotation is really falling apart too. John Means, Dean Kramer, Keegan Aiken, Felix Hernandez, who they were able to sign. I mean, that's like the most notable name, and Matt Harvey, with Tanner Scott closing it out. So, yeah, I'm really not.
They're not bad.
Yeah.
But they're bad.
Yeah, they're not.
Not good.
Yeah. Just it'll probably be a long season for Baltimore. Maybe not as long as MLB is projecting, but it'll be a long season.
It's going to be a long season.
So now moving over to the National League East, the Mets. The analysts are projecting them to have a really
good season.
Really good season.
Especially with Francisco Lindor.
Yeah, and Carlos Carrasco. And once Noah Syndergaard comes back, I mean, I think they are a really big threat, and it's cool to see both New York teams now
at the top of the divisions.
So their lineup is projected to be Brandon Nimmo, Francisco Lindor, Michael Conforto, Dominic Smith, Pete Alonso, Jeff McNeil, J.D. Davis, and James McCann. And then the rotation, Jacob deGrom, Carlos Carrasco, Marcus Stroman, Taijuan Walker, and Joey Lucchesi, with Edwin Diaz closing it out. So, yeah, this is a really potent lineup, and I think the Mets are finally a threat.
Yeah, to see that they have a 77% chance of winning the division this year is definitely something to look forward to as a Mets fan, because normally you don't see them in the beginning of the season ranking this high. But I think this gives a lot of hope to Mets fans.
So, like Dee said, they have a 77% chance to win the division. Washington has a 10% chance, followed by Philadelphia with 7%, Atlanta with a 5% chance, and then the Marlins, like the Orioles, 0%
chance.
I think the Marlins did have like 0.01% chance of making the playoffs, so a little bit better than Baltimore.
Yeah, 0.01.
But still pretty bad.
It's not good at all, still.
So for Washington, they have Trey Turner, Juan Soto, Josh Bell, who they acquired from Pittsburgh, Kyle Schwarber, who came over from the Cubs, Starlin Castro, Yan Gomes, Victor Robles, and Carter Kieboom. And then the rotation, Max Scherzer, Steven Strasburg, Patrick Corbin, John Lester, and Joe Ross. Brad Hand, the closer. So I think this is
a great rotation.
Well, not only that, just like a great all-around team.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's. I think that's too wide of a margin, 77 to 10%.
I think they really should have maybe 25% chance.
At least, yeah.
At least. Mets could go a little bit lower than 77, maybe 75. But if that's 75 and 25, then obviously the other three teams would have 0% chance of winning. But I don't think they should have a 10% chance of winning. Should be higher.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially with that, not that rotation up on the board, but the rotation with the Nationals.
Now, the Phillies are projected to go 83 and 79. They don't, like I said, they only have a 7% chance. I think this could be a little bit higher too because they have a nice lineup as well. They have a healthy Andrew McCutchen leading off, followed by Rhys Hoskins, Bryce Harper, JT Realmuto, Didi Gregorius, Alec Boom, Gene Segura, and Scott Kingery. And then the rotation, Aaron Nola, Zach Wheeler, Zach Eflin, Matt Moore, Chase Anderson, and then Archie Bradley closing it out for them. So again, only 7% chance, but I think they're going to have a solid year.
I think if we go back to their lineup, that we could see their top 5 batters. Like, they're starting off their lineup so strong with all these players. Like, Didi Gregorius can hit some, can hit a lot. He can, rack up those RBIs. He might not seem like a home run hitter, but he hit a lot when he was with the Yankees, and I didn't think he'd get re-signed with the Phillies. Didn't he have to re-sign or something last year?
I think he just re-signed this year,
This year? That's what I thought.
So less than 2 minutes to go now. We have 2 teams left to talk about, and that is Atlanta. I mean, this is another great lineup that I think they're selling them a little bit short with 5%. But Ronald Acuna Jr., Ozzie Albies, Freddie Freeman, Marcelo Zuna, Travis d'Arnaud, Dansby Swanson, Austin Riley, and then Christian Pache. With the rotation, Charlie Morton, Max Fried, Ian Anderson, Drew Smyly, Kyle Wright, and Will Smith, the closer.
That's a great rotation for them too. Also,
yeah, that's just a solid team.
Solid team with a 5% chance of winning, maybe 15-20%.
And then finally, the Marlins.
I don't even want to talk about the Marlins. They have a 0% chance of winning.
Corey Dickerson, Starling Marte, Jesus Aguilar, Brian Anderson, Adam Duvall, Jazz Chisholm, Jorge Alfaro, Miguel Rojas, and then Sandy Alcantara as the ace of the Marlins this year. Pablo Lopez, Eliezer Hernandez, Sixto Sanchez, and Nick Neidert, with Yimi Garcia closing it out for them. So, like we said, 0% chance. They're projected to have 68 wins, so probably not too much to look forward to down in Miami.
No.
But, well, that was a great first
test run
for this new format. I don't think I mentioned this, but Dee also made the graphics here, so thank you for doing that. That worked out really well. And like I said, next week we'll be doing the AL Central and the NL Central. So Dee, thank you again. And next, Mac will come on to talk about the NBA.
To be the best at anything, you've got to be physically fit. Train hard. You've got to be sharp mentally and keep yourself in top shape. You've got to learn all there is to know about your sport and be a team player. And most of all, you must have the burning desire to be the best. Incidentally, that's exactly what it takes to be a Marine. Sports and the Marine Corps are natural partners because the demands are the same. Teamwork, pride, discipline, and physical fitness. If you're interested in developing to your full athletic potential, the Marine Corps Sports Program offers an opportunity to go as far as your athletic talent and desire will take you, even as far as the Olympic Games. If you seek the challenge of going out for the world's finest team, maybe you can be one of us, the few, the proud, the Marines.
You know, every mother wants their new baby to be healthy. I know that's how I felt about mine. But the mothers of these babies were not so lucky. These babies were born with the AIDS virus. Right now, there's no cure, but you can help prevent the spread of AIDS. If you're sexually active, please use a condom because it'll help prevent AIDS. Do it for yourself. Do it for your partner. Do it for the babies.
It would be nice if latex condoms were automatic. But since they're not, using them should be. Simply because a latex condom used consistently and correctly will prevent the spread of HIV.
Some people say the press goes too far sometimes.
Sorry, I don't think it's appropriate to comment at this time.
But how far is too far?
What about the allegations?
Had they stopped here, you may never have known about Watergate.
No comment. Please, no comment.
Or here, you may never have been fully informed about the environmental
Policy and
crisis.
perfectly appropriate behavior.
Within policy. Would you say that secret activities are within policy?
Look, no comment.
Did you get authorization?
No, it was illegal. I said I cannot comment at this time.
Or had they stopped here, you may never have known if it concerned an issue that concerned you.
I'd like you to check the record.
Who else was involved? Who monitored this activity, sir?
Who approved the funding? The committee approved all.
Now you say the committee was involved, sir?
No.
To protect your right to be informed,
I have nothing more to say.
how far should the press go? To learn more about the free press, contact the First Amendment Center.
Cormac Clune joins us now to talk about the NBA. And Mac, I think this is your first time talking about the NBA. I think we had a segment or two last year, but this is definitely your first time talking about the NBA this year. Mac did an MLB segment a couple weeks ago, but what a great time to talk about some Knicks basketball, as Mac and I both decided to wear our Knicks shirts tonight because the Knicks are off to their best start since 2012-13. They are one game over 500, 18-17, and in fourth place in the Eastern Conference.
It's been a while of watching really bad Knicks basketball, so it's good to see some winning team. You know, it's good to see a winning team again, for sure.
Yeah, so the Knicks and the Sabres are my two winner teams, so it's been a really rough decade of winter sports
It's pretty
for
brutal,
me.
yeah.
So it's really rejuvenating to have one of my teams start to win again. We'll get there someday with the Sabres, but yeah, it feels good. I mean, the Knicks are just playing like really well, inspired basketball. They're playing tough, and you know, we'll talk about it more as we progress through this segment, as they're one of the games on our list. But like I said in the NHL segment, for this NBA segment, we will do two games from each night over the weekend. So starting with Friday, the first game on our list here is Indiana and Boston, and the Celtics took this one 118-112.
Yeah, so Kemba Walker, Kemba Walker was out of the lineup for a little bit, and when he was in the lineup, he wasn't really playing that well. This is a Celtics team that has struggled this year, which is interesting because they've been such a powerhouse in the East the last few years. But this year, they're I think 17-17 right now. They're right at 500. They're sixth in the East. They just haven't been as strong as they normally have been, and that's due to injuries a lot. Marcus Smart is out right now, and he's going to be out until most likely after the All-Star game, which is next week. So they just need to get their people back, and I still think this team, there's like a lot of alarm bells going off for the Celtics. You know, people are saying like, oh, what's going on and what's wrong, and I think that you just need to give them a little bit more time, wait until after the All-Star break. Once they get their players back, they should be back in it.
Well, they're 4-6 in their last 10. Like you said, they are in sixth place right now, 17-17. But I mean, the standings are so close right now. I am bragging about the Knicks being in fourth place, but you know,
it's a game away from the Celtics being in first place. So.
And you know, take someone like the Hawks, who are in, let's see,
they're
9, 10. They're 11th place. 8 games back, so they're only separated by 3.5 games.
And it is a shortened season, so those games do matter more, but it's not like these teams that are so close can't make that distance up.
Yeah, so we'll see what goes on here. And then Indiana, meanwhile, they are right on the edge of the playoffs right now. They are in 9th place with a 15-17 record.
Yeah, they've had a rough week and a rough few games here. They're 3-7 in their last 10. So their best news, I guess, has been that Sabonis is an All-Star. He was on the reserves list after, I forgot what player got injured. Somebody was injured in the East and wasn't able to play. I think it might have been Durant. I'm not sure. But Sabonis was able to make the All-Star team, so that's the best news the Pacers have had. But their record has not been great, and they need to pick it up in this shortened season.
Next game from Friday was Portland and LA, Lakers, this was, and the Lakers took this one 102-93 to snap a 4-game losing streak.
And again, talking about another team, The Lakers, everybody's been so doom and gloom on them. They're the defending champions, so I think they deserve a little bit more respect than that. LeBron James he's still in the MVP race. He has an argument as the best player in the league still. So, for the Lakers, it's just about keeping their players healthy and getting ready for the playoffs. And for the Trailblazers on the other side, they've had a surprising season. I think they're 18-14 right now. They have lost 4 games in a row, but that's with Jusuf Nurkic and C.J. McCollum both out with injuries. So Damian Lillard has been completely carrying this team, and out there right now he looks a little bit tired, and the Blazers are losing some games for it.
So the Lakers are in second place right now. They are 24-11, and then like Max said, the Trailblazers are 18-14 in sixth place. But the West isn't as tight as the East, but it's all pretty close right now.
And the Lakers, it's an interesting season because the Lakers do have some challengers, right? Like you would agree. There's the Nets; they're really good this year. The Clippers are still really good. So it's not like it's a shoo-in for the
regular
Lakers
season.
Yeah, well, so far. It's not a shoo-in for the Lakers to win, but I think that for a team that was, that's obviously this good, you're just going to need a little bit more time to tell what's going to happen.
Now, talking about surprising teams here, this team was really surprising this year, and that's San Antonio, as they defeated the Pelicans 117-114 on Saturday, and they've been really banged up with injuries and with COVID, but they have a lot of their players coming back now. And the Spurs, a lot of people projected them to be in the bottom of the West this year.
I think they were projected to be the 3rd worst team in the West, and they're currently in 4th place right now, or I think they might be in 5th right now with a 17-12 record. That's mostly because of amazing play by DeMar DeRozan, who has, his playmaking is really good this year. Just in this game, he had 11 assists, and I think he's had 4 or 5 games with at least 20 points and 10 assists this year, and he's had none of those in his career before that. So it's been really impressive and a great evolution for him on that Spurs team, which again, nobody expected to be any good.
Now, did I see a rumor that the Spurs are trying to shop him and LaMarcus Aldridge, or am I making that up?
I could see them trying to trade him, but with a Popovich-coached team, I just think they're going to go and keep what they have. If they're winning right now, they're just going to keep winning and see where it takes them.
That's what I thought, but maybe they think that this is just a surprise year and they're going to be bad after this, so maybe they can shop him and get some value for him right now. But did you see that rumor?
It's trade rumor season. There's so much of that stuff. I saw that.
Okay, so
I saw
I'm not going crazy.
Yeah, I saw some weird stuff. I don't know. None of it really makes much sense right now.
So, again, the Spurs are in 5th place, and then the Pelicans are in 11th with a 14-19 record. So a little bit of a down year for them, especially with having Zion.
Who's been amazing, and people aren't talking about Zion. He's averaging 25 points right now, and it's his sophomore season. That dude is amazing. He is a guy where if you give the ball to him in the open court, there's nothing you can do to stop him. He's going to get a free throw, or he's going to catch his own rebound. So, I don't know why that team isn't as good as they should be. They have one of the best offenses in the league and one of the worst defenses in the league. And they should have a better defense. Stan Van Gundy, their new coach, is a defensive-minded coach. Steven Adams is a good defender. Brandon Ingram on the Lakers was also a really solid defender. And Zion Williamson was mocked when he was coming into the league as being a good defender. So I just don't understand why that team is so bad on that end of the floor.
Now, moving on to another team that's been a little disappointing this year, Dallas. But the story here is that they defeated the Nets, who, like you said, they're one of the contenders with the Lakers right now, and the Mavericks took this one on Saturday, 115-98.
Yeah, Luka Doncic with 27 points, 6 rebounds, and 7 assists, continuing his really good play this season. Some people thought of this year was a bit of a down year for him. The main problem with the Mavericks has been Porzingis has not been healthy, and it was the concern when the Knicks had him too. Is Porzingis going to be able to stay on the floor? Because the guy's 7'3", he plays like a guard, and he's always injured. So it's tricky for the Knicks for the Mavericks to have this guy on the floor consistently and be able to produce for them. This game, I'm not going to take too much for it. I think the Nets, this snapped their 9-game winning streak, and neither Kyrie Irving or Kevin Durant played. So I'm not going to say that this was a super meaningful win, but it's good to see Porzingis playing for the first time in, I think, 2 weeks and getting back on track solidly.
Moving on to yesterday's games now, and the first one we want to talk about was the Clippers and the Bucks. And Milwaukee took this one 105-100.
Yeah, Kawhi with 25, 9 rebounds, 3 assists in the loss, and Giannis with 36, 14, and 5 for the win. Did you watch this game or no? Because he was amazing in this game. It was this fourth quarter. They came back really hard, and he basically won the game himself. It was incredible.
I think
he's firmly back in the MVP conversation with this game now. People, because he's won 2 years in a row, and so he's like the defending MVP. And I don't know. I just think that he's really like back in the race for being MVP.
Yeah, I did not watch this game, but I agree with you. He's starting to heat up again.
I mean, the Bucks are good too again.
Yeah,
I think they got like 5 wins in a row right now or something like that.
Well, they're 21-13. They're only 1 game back of the 76ers. But like I said, the East is so tight right now. Philadelphia is 22-12. They're in first. The Nets are 22-13. And the Bucks 21-13, and then the Knicks are right there too.
We'll talk about them in a second. The Bucks are definitely a team that people aren't talking about right now that much, because I think most people just want to see them get it done in the playoffs. These past few years have been not great for them in the playoffs. They're getting bounced in the second round. So we'll see if they can get it done this year. And with Giannis's improved play, I'm hopeful. I think they can really make some noise.
And I think the Nets are the new talking point in the East now. Everyone wants to talk about the new big three with KD, Kyrie, and Harden. And I don't want to say they're forgetting about Milwaukee, but I think they're kind of stealing the spotlight right now.
Well, going back to the Nets for a second, what do you think about their playoff chances? Do you think that they're going to do really well, or?
I don't know. I mean, they're definitely going to make it, but like the question is, how far can they go? Because how far can this big three mesh and play well together?
Yeah, well, on offense, they're the best team in the league. I mean, they're the #1 rated offense. You would expect a team with Kevin Durant, James Harden, Kyrie Irving to be the best offense in the league. On defense, they're giving up a lot of points. And in the playoffs, when defenses tighten up, we'll see how that goes. I mean, I could see them getting bounced and all it takes is one injury to one of those guys, too.
Less than a couple minutes to go here, so we'll have to make this quick. Like we said, though, the Knicks 18-17 now. They defeated the Pistons 109-90. Julius Randle continues his tear as he was elected to the All-Star game. 25-8-6 for him. R.J. Barrett 21 points, and another game. I'll just say them both, and then you can talk real quick about them. The Hornets and the Kings. The Hornets won 127-126 after being down 8 points with 109 left.
That's an embarrassing loss. That is a bad loss.
Yeah, and then the other game, real quick, from yesterday was Boston and Washington. The Celtics won 111-110. The Wizards are starting to play really well too. But real quick, I mean, out of those 3 games, what are your thoughts?
Well, it's great to see the Knicks win for sure. I think with Sacramento, I think Luke Walton is going to get fired. Is I think what should happen, because that team is massively underperformed. And then for the Wizards, it's good to see a team that was like a laughingstock earlier in the season come back and start to play some inspired basketball.
Yeah, we'll see if they can make a little bit of noise. Right now, they are still towards the bottom. They are 13-19, but like I said, it's very close. So we will have to see. But until then, go Knicks. Let's keep it rolling.
Let's go Knicks.
So, Mac, thank you for coming on. And then Meyer will be on to talk about college basketball in a couple minutes. So stay tuned.
The best at anything, you've got to be physically fit. Train hard. You've got to be sharp mentally and keep yourself in top shape. You've got to learn all there is to know about your sport and be a team player. And most of all, you must have the burning desire to be the best. Incidentally, that's exactly what it takes to be a Marine. Sports and the Marine Corps are natural partners because the demands are the same. Teamwork, pride, discipline, and physical fitness. If you're interested in developing to your full athletic potential, the Marine Corps Sports Program offers an opportunity to go as far as your athletic talent and desire will take you, even as far as the Olympic Games. If you seek the challenge of going out for the world's finest team, maybe you can be one of us, the few, the proud, the Marines.
You know, every mother wants their new baby to be healthy. I know that's how I felt about mine. But the mothers of these babies were not so lucky. These babies were born with the AIDS virus. Right now, there's no cure, but you can help prevent the spread of AIDS. If you're sexually active, please use a condom because it'll help prevent AIDS. Do it for yourself. Do it for your partner. Do it for the babies.
It would be nice if latex condoms were automatic. But since they're not, using them should be. simply because a latex condom used consistently and correctly will prevent the spread of HIV.
Some people say the press goes too far sometimes.
Sorry, I don't think it's appropriate to comment at this time.
But how far is too far?
What about the allegations?
Had they stopped here, you may never have known about Watergate.
No comment. Please, no comment.
Or here, you may never have been fully informed about the environmental
Policy is
crisis.
perfectly appropriate behavior.
Within policy. Would you say that secret activities are within policy?
Look, no comment.
Did you get authorization?
I said I cannot comment at this time.
Or had they stopped here, you may never have known if it concerned an issue that concerned you.
I'd like you to check the record.
Who monitored this activity, sir?
Who approved the funding? The committee approved all.
Now you say the committee was involved, sir?
No.
To protect your right to be informed,
I have nothing more to say.
how far should the press go? To learn more about the free press, contact the First Amendment Center.
Meyer Mikulski joins us now to talk college basketball this week. Meyer usually does the NBA, but he knows his college basketball too, as him and I are in a bracketology class taught by Chris LeGros. You might remember Chris. He came on the show
It was 2
years ago, yeah, because last year with COVID, but 2 years ago to talk about March Madness, as that's what we are learning about, all of the matrix of bracketology. So Chris will actually be coming back on the show in a couple weeks to talk about the bracket and the seedings and all that good stuff that we're learning about. So until then, Meyer and I will just do a little bit of a recap here. We'll go over the top 25 and highlight some of the top games from the weekend. So first, Meyer, I'll just run through the top 10 and then I'll pause myself right there and we can talk a little bit about it. So the AP rankings came out today, and number one, Gonzaga. I mean, no surprise there, 24-0. Just having a great year again, followed by Michigan, Baylor, Illinois, Iowa, West Virginia, Ohio State, Alabama, Houston, and Villanova. So what are your thoughts about these top 10 teams here?
I'm really not surprised based on the recent play from all these teams, especially like Iowa and West Virginia, because of recent wins they had against those teams that were highly ranked at the time, but then they dropped down since then.
Yeah, so Iowa and West Virginia, they both rose 4 spots in the last week. So like you said, they've been really playing well. Michigan, too, they went up to 2 this week. There were 3 last week. Illinois had a bad loss to, I can't remember, they lost last week, but then they had a couple nice wins over the weekend, and they are still number 4. They're 18-6. Do you remember who they lost to? Now it's bothering me.
Yeah, I can't think of it right now.
Well, you find that out, and then I will go through 10 through 20 here. So starting with number 11, Florida State, they are 14-4, followed by Arkansas, Kansas, and both those teams have been really turning it on lately. Arkansas rose 8 spots, Kansas 4. Creighton is 14, Texas 15, Oklahoma 16, Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, San Diego State is 19, and then Loyola Chicago is 20 with a 21-4 record.
So to go back to Illinois real quick, their loss was against Michigan State, who's unranked right now.
Okay, that's right. So it was kind of a bad loss, but then they had 2 pretty nice wins over the weekend to maintain that 4 spot right there. And actually, they moved up a spot. They were 5th last week. So what are your thoughts from the 10 through 20 here? Or actually 11 through 20?
Really the same response as for the top 10, really.
Yeah, like I said, Arkansas and Kansas, they moved up 8 spots. The Razorbacks moved up 8 spots, and then Kansas, they moved up 4. So Kansas is one of those teams, they're just in it every year.
Yeah.
And, you know, a few weeks ago, it was looking like Duke, North Carolina, Kansas, and Kentucky all might not make the tournament. But like I said, Kansas has really been playing some nice ball lately. So they're most likely going to get in.
Yeah,
but I don't know about Duke, Carolina, and Kentucky right now. Probably not, definitely not Kentucky, but maybe, I bet Carolina has the best chance. Maybe Duke, but it's definitely a weird year in that aspect.
Yeah, Kansas, they've had a very up and down year, and like you said, but I believe Duke and North Carolina, they still have a fighting chance to make the tournament, but they're gonna have to handle their business for the rest of the season.
So finishing out the top 25 now, Virginia is 21 with a 15-6 record. Virginia Tech, they are 22. They're 15-5. Purdue, Colorado, and Wisconsin round out the top 25. Not too much to talk about there other than, well, actually, yeah, Virginia and Virginia Tech dropped 6 spots each this past week. Purdue and Colorado rose 3 and 2 spots, respectively. And then Wisconsin dropped 2. So, I mean, pretty much the same as the top 20. A lot of shifting around as at this time of year, the teams that are most successful play their best ball at the end of the year.
As they should.
So, doesn't matter how you start, it's how you finish. And then other teams receiving votes. BYU, 101 votes. USC, 88. Clemson, 44. Florida, 24. Tennessee, 19. My St. Bonaventure Bonnies, 16. Oregon, 15. Missouri, 13. Wichita State, 11. Maryland, 9. Toledo, 8. Belmont, 5. UConn, 5. Winthrop, 4. North Carolina, 4. Louisville and UCLA, 2. UC Santa Barbara, 1. And Drake, 1. So before we get into some of the games that we want to talk about, we'll discuss a little bit of what we've been learning about in class, and that's how the committee chooses these teams. Because you look at a team like Drake, who's 24-3, and they're only receiving 1 vote, but someone like, well, I guess BYU, 101 votes, they're 19-5. It's like, how? And we've been learning how they take all these different ranking systems. There's a lot of them. There's not just like the RPI or the net. Like there's a ton of systems that they just calculate. I don't even know how they do it, but all these bracketologists, and they look at like the strength of schedule and say, well, because BYU has had a stronger schedule than Drake, we're going to give them literally 100 more votes. I mean, well, this is just for the top 25, but I think it's pretty consistent that that's how they would do it for choosing the at-large bids too.
And I feel there's certain things I like about the ranking systems, but there's also some flaws that I believe they could fix within the system as well.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we talked about in class was, you remember in 2016, I mentioned how I was a St. Bonaventure fan. That was one of the biggest snubs of all time. Joel Lenardi actually came into our class the other day, and I was talking to him about that, and he told me, he's like, that was one of the biggest snubs of all time. When the Bonnies got snubbed, I can't remember what their record was exactly, but they should have been in the tournament that year, and I think Syracuse got in ahead of them, but they ended up going all the way to either the Elite Eight or Final Four. So, I mean, it worked out for Syracuse, but I mean, it's definitely interesting how they choose these teams.
Yeah, and I feel like also those mid-major teams, they shouldn't be penalized because they don't get to play the high major teams. It's not their fault that they don't play in the big conferences.
Yeah, it's not like they get to pick and choose their schedule, you know? All right, so moving on now to some of the games that we want to highlight here. So the first one here was Kansas and Baylor. And like we said, Kansas, they've been really playing well lately, and they upset Baylor, actually, 71-58.
Yeah, so this was a big win for Kansas. They needed this one. And before this game, they were kind of looked at more as an under consideration team rather than an automatic bid winner. And like I said before, it's been an up and down season for them. And they got a great performance from David McCormack, who really used his size to his advantage. And I think they should solidify their chances in the tournament. And for Baylor, despite the loss, they're still in great shape to be a #1 seed in the tournament. However, they did drop from being #2 to being #3. And it's all because their 3 guards, they all struggle collectively. Not just with scoring, but with foul trouble. So they're going to have to clean that up in future games.
So yeah, that was Baylor's first loss of the year. They are 18-1 now, and again, they are the 3rd team in the country. Moving on now, the next game, Gonzaga, like we said, they remain unbeaten. They beat Loyola Marymount 86-69, and 24-0 for the Zags.
So in this game, Gonzaga, they were down early, and the tempo was actually more in favor of Loyola Marymount. But then towards the end of the first half, and then in the second half, Gonzaga really started to separate themselves. They started to force turnovers. And, once you start to force turnovers, it gives you confidence, but it also takes away from the other team's confidence.
So, like I said, Gonzaga, 24-0. Do you know how many games are left in the regular season? I'm not even sure what the schedule is looking like this year.
I think it might be about 2 because the conference tournament, they're supposed to start soon. Some of them start earlier than others, though.
I didn't even realize it was that soon. So, regardless if they lose or not, we know Gonzaga is going to get in and most likely be a 1 seed.
Yeah, most definitely.
So next, this is a great game. Oklahoma State and Oklahoma. And Oklahoma State took this one 94-90 behind 40 points from one of their players. What's his first name? I'm blanking. Cunningham.
His name is Cade Cunningham.
Cade Cunningham. 40 for him.
Yeah, get used to hearing that name because he's going to be a first overall pick in this year's draft. And in this game, he made an even stronger case for being a number 1 pick. He was getting to his spots, and he was making a lot of difficult shots. And I have a stat. He's one of 3 freshmen in the Big 12 ever to record 40 points and 10 rebounds. The other 2 are Michael Beasley, who did it 3 times, and Trae Young, who did it in 2017-18. And the only bad thing I could really point to about this performance is that he had 1 assist to 5 turnovers. But when you're the primary ball handler, you're going to have games like that where you have high turnovers.
Well, this was obviously a great win for Oklahoma State. That moved them up 9 spots in the standings.
They were unranked before, and now they're 17th.
And the Sooners dropped 9 points. So they're 16-17 now.
Yeah, and they're playing right now as we speak.
Yeah, so they're 16-17 in the nation, but obviously 2 different sides of the spectrum here with respect to what happened in the game.
Yeah.
Next game on the list here, North Carolina and Florida State. We mentioned the Tar Heels maybe sneaking into the tournament this year. They upset the Seminoles 78-70.
So this game gave UNC a fighting chance, and they were down by 12 at halftime. But then all of a sudden, Walker Kessler, their freshman big man, he started to show the potential that Roy Williams saw in him. And he had a field day in the paint. He was scoring a lot of easy baskets. And as for Florida State, they were outscored 49-29 in the second half. And it really started because they started to shoot themselves in the foot with turnovers. And they had 3 within the first 3 minutes of the second half. And those could be backbreakers for your team. And like I said before, it gives the other team confidence and it takes away from yours.
So real quick here, the last game we want to talk about was Illinois and Wisconsin, and the Fighting Illini took this one 74-69. Like we said, they lost last Tuesday. It was Tuesday they lost to Michigan State 81-72. Then they beat Nebraska 86-70, and then on Saturday they beat Wisconsin, who was a 25th team, 74-69. And a big game tomorrow as they play Michigan at 7 o'clock. So that will do it for this segment and for this episode as we wrap up another one here from the WNYF studios in Hendricks Hall. The other thing we forgot to mention, the huge news of the day, J.J. Watt went to the Arizona Cardinals. I was very sad he didn't come to the Bills, but a lot of money. And, he has had his injuries, so I think it'll all work out. But the reason I said that was because Chris is probably going to come on and talk college basketball with us on the 15th. So we'll have to talk about it. But I'm thinking we might have to throw an NFL segment in there as free agency is quickly approaching. But Meyer, we will be back to talk about March Madness coming up which is very quickly coming up here. Love that it's back and love that we can talk about it again. So thank you for watching and we'll see you next week.